Alright, let's say we want to draw or sketch an object that is slightly more complicated. Here I have a paper clip or document clip. The first thing I'm going to be doing is taking a look at this form, the shape. Can I identify the geometric shape of this object? Yes, it looks like a triangular prism. Alright, so now that I have identified that, next we want to figure out which perspective we're going to be sketching this. Am I going to be looking from the top view, from an angle, straightforward? To set up this object here, I'm going to be looking at it from a top view because I'm sitting upright. If it was right in front of my eyes and or even looking from the front view, it would have been different. So now I want to draw it in a slight angle here, and I'm going to leave it there. So I'm going to start my drawing with pencil, and I usually started without any line drawing, but to simplify this for you and for the purpose of this video, I'm going to be using a ruler to draw some lines to create symmetry in the horizon line. So I would say here is our horizon line. I'm not going to make it super dark, I just want to have a line there. And first thing that I'm going to be doing is taking a look at what is most familiar to me in terms of geometric shape. So here I see a little triangle that connects all the lines on this clip together. So I try to mimic that form of that triangle as close as possible from where I am sitting and looking at it. And then I will continue the lines based on the shape here. So if it's a pyramid shape or a triangular prism, I'm just going to continue these lines. And if you notice, all the lines are kind of parallel to each other. So these two are going to be parallel to each other. These two are going to also be parallel with each other. Now from where I'm sitting, I don't see much of this side, so it's like very thin and middle, so I'm just going to add a little bit. And these two lines are also parallel with each other. Details, so we don't want to add too many details here. This is just a quick sketch. Okay, and now there's also these little handles that are also parallel with each other. And pay attention to the angle, how it goes up from where you're looking at your object. And then it has this kind of rounded shape at the top. And same shape repeats on our side. So now here's my quick sketch of this paper clip. It's super light. I'm gonna go over it with a pen. But what you can do to simplify this for yourself, you could draw a symmetrical line that would go this way, will go this way. As many ways that you need to divide this shape into smaller sections that you could figure out the correct form, you can do that. So I'm gonna go over it with pen. And at this point I'm add some little details just to again pronounce the different parts of this clip if it's important to the shape, especially if you're designing something, you want to add those little details. Okay. And do not worry if your lines do not turn out perfect and straight right from the beginning. The first time that you do it, it's all right. We can always go over the lines and make sure that we get nicer lines. All right. Okay, now that I have the overall shape correct, I'm going to be using, again, I could continue using the pen or the pencil, but I have some markers here that I'm going to be using to add almost like a hint of color. Don't want to add too much, but as much as I can show that here is some shadow because it's hollow inside here. So I'm just gonna add some. And if there's any other area that has more shadow, I'm going again to pronounce it using my marker. You can feel free to use colored pencils, watercolor pencils, or any other medium that you want to add some details. You can do that. There's some shadow right underneath. So here's our paper clip. I'm kind of happy with it, more or less. Now let's try from another perspective. So now I'm going to try and draw it from the front view. Same thing again. I'm gonna start with the pencil very quickly, or if you feel comfortable enough, you can start right with your pen or marker. You don't have to do these steps. Again, you could start with a symmetrical line going this way, to simplify things for yourself if you need to. Right, now try another object. Here I have a set of glasses, so let's give it a try and sketch these glasses. Again, we will determine which view we want to have, which perspective. Do we want it to be straightforward, in a slight angle, from the top view, or do we want it to be open like this, or however. Right, so let's say I want to just have it closed. Yeah, this is good. Again, what I'm going to be doing first is identifying the simplified geometric shapes in this object. So I see the circle and straight lines, and then everything is kind of connected with some curvy line together. I could again start with a symmetrical line that goes through this way horizontally. If I need to, I can also do some vertical lines just to again show the center of the glass. And here is another one. And I'm just doing these measurements by eye. If you need to, you can again use your pencil and your hand to measure it. I'm just going to have the objects close to me here for the purpose of this video, but feel free to put them farther away so you can have enough space to measure from distance. So, and if it's difficult for you to start from the circle right away, you can always simplify that form and add some little angles and then go over it and kind kind of massage it to smooth it out the actual shape that you see. Okay, and then there's all this little space around this glass that creates, and we got the shape and form of the glass. Now you want to take your time here and make sure that you spend some time perfecting each line a little bit, making sure that it's close enough to the actual design of this object. Keep in mind that, okay, here we go, I started from one side and now I see, oh, that does not look like that's going to be the center of the other glass here, so I will be coloring this around here-ish. Okay, so I'm going to erase this line, and that's totally fine. You don't have to get everything correct right from the beginning, and that's why we do these sketches. So overall, and sometimes again, depending to the perspective that you're looking, for example, if it was on a one-point perspective, one eye like of this glass would have been much smaller than the other, so this one would have been much bigger. But that's also from a very specific angle. If you are looking at it, you might see it that way, so one side of it's going to be much bigger than the other side. For now, I'm just going to keep everything again at an eye level where I have the object set up in front of me. Okay, so I got the overall shape of the glass correct. Now I'm going to add the little handles. Again, if I have a difficulty with that, I always will keep in mind this line, the symmetrical line that I have added, and I feel like based on where I'm sitting and looking at this, the handles are slightly lower than that, so, and they're kind of crossing each other. Pay attention to where each line starts and ends. So again, now that my shape is formed, I'm going to use my pen to pronounce some of the forms and little corners, angles on this object and glass. Little characteristics that make this glass look interesting. Start adding some hint of color to it. Now again, I do this based on the characteristics that I see. So I try to pay attention if there are some little changes in the color there that would make a difference to show it. Pay attention which parts are behind and what is in front of another piece, so you don't go over them. I could add some more again details by adding the shadows. I could continue kind of coloring on this entire handle if I wanted to. So here are my glasses. Next, I'm going to try and draw these earphones. Again, another object that more or less seems simple, but it actually has a little bit of design to it that makes it more complicated than just a sphere or a cylinder. Okay, same thing again. I'm going to lay it down somewhere, decide which orientation and which perspective and point of view I want to look at it. That. And this time I'm going to start drawing using my pen right away, so I'm not going to use the pencil again. Again, you can start with a symmetrical line to kind of identify some things for yourself before you get started. Here I'm just gonna look at the shape and so now we want to show again a little bit of details and shadows to give a better understanding of the form, the shape, how this shape is going to be in the space. I change the direction of my hand and the shading to create some more value. Using my marker again here. So here are just some examples of drawing a more complex objects and doing a quick sketch of them. So you could do some more sketches of industrial objects, bigger objects like a car or motorcycle, a bicycle, up to you how complicated you want to go. But for the purpose of this video, I want to do a quick sketch of something that you imagine. For example, I do most of my sculptures start with a sketch. So as most of my paintings will start with a sketch, an idea that I had in my mind and I wanted to capture it. So that's what a sketch is good for, to quickly capture an idea and being able to build upon it later. So here I have this thought, an idea that I've been imagining for my maybe next newspaper sculpture that I want to make. And I want to now sketch it and see how it would look like. So again, I'm gonna start with a symmetrical line just to simplify things for myself. And in my mind, what I see this sculpture would look like is it's a hanging piece, so I'm going to keep this line, and it has this kind of a circular spherical shape starting from the center. So again, I start with a pencil and I go over it later with pen. And around this spherical shape is again another shape that is almost looks like a pepper, a green pepper. So it's like they are inside each other. And I'm not sure if I want the bottom to look exactly like a pepper, but or slightly pointy maybe, but I'm just going to play around with it right now as I am sketching it. So you see how helpful this symmetrical line is. Now that I have it there, I can have some sort of imagination of where all the other pieces should fall, or at least keep them symmetrical and straightforward. if that's my intention. And most of my newspaper sculptures are all woven together, so I'm going to be creating a pattern here as well. So it's going to look something like this, and then here's the next layer, which would be on top of it. So there is that little spherical shape inside, and then there's a bigger sphere outside of it. So it almost feels like it's the little kind of baby of that shape inside it. Now that I have the overall shape on paper, I'm going to take my pen again and start the drawing, going over it. And now, since this is the sketch of my own sculpture, it doesn't have to be perfect. But what I want to do is to play around with it and make sure I get the shape right, the way that I see it in my mind, from my imagination, and be able to understand the shape better. Because essentially, once I have this sketch ready and I understand how this shape looks like, then I'm able to make this sculpture much more easier, and I can plan it better and understand how to start and finish it. All right, and it's going to be suspended, something like this. And now I'm gonna go back in again with my markers, and I'm going to add a hint of colors to it again. So I'm going to add some colors to this one that is inside. Why do I do this specifically? Just so I can show that there are two objects within each other. So the one that is inside is going to be slightly darker because there's not so much light falling on it. So I'm going to use this marker to kind of go over it and show all the different layers, right? And since this object is inside, we also have to keep in mind that there are different sides to this sculpture. So this is the view from the front, and it's all right, and that's going to be my sculpture. I'm going to be showing you some more examples of this, like these images of my previous sculptures that all started again with one quick sketch like these. I hope that you enjoyed watching this video, and I hope that you will start sketching some more complex objects or sketch something that you want to create. Thank you so much for watching.